Welcome to The Hard Way, hosted by best-selling author, business columnist, and coach, Rhett Power. The Hard Way is about failure, struggle, and how people overcome great obstacles to become successful. This episode is brought to you by Power Coaching and Consulting. Whether you want to motivate your employees, define a career path, or develop effective communication and leadership skills, Power Coaching can help provide customized coaching services to improve your effectiveness and your results. Power Coaching and Consulting. Focused, practical, insightful advice. Schedule your free initial consultation today at www.powercoachinggroup.com. Rhett's guests have overcome enormous challenges to reach their goals, and we will find out specifically how they did it. Now it's time to dig deep and get answers on how to turn failure and hard times into success. Now, your host, Rhett Power.
All right, welcome to The Hard Way. I'm Rhett Power. The Hard Way is about failure, struggle, and how people overcome great obstacles to become successful. Now, we're going to talk and dig deep and get answers on how to turn failure and hard times into success. And we're going to get specific actions from our guests and answer those questions. So today, I've got somebody I met a few years ago in Kenya in West Africa. Tatyana Kanzaveli is a cancer survivor, chess champion in the USSR, played with Garry Kasparov on that same team. Is considered a thought leader, a mentor, a speaker, and is now founder of the Open Health Network. And we're going to talk about that in a few minutes, which is actually a company that uses big data and AI in the healthcare space. And the question I have for Tatyana to really start off with is what can she not do? Tatyana, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Rhett. Good talking to you, and thank you so much for inviting me to be on your show. I love your question, but from my point of view, there is nothing that I cannot do. So I love challenges. I love doing what others perceive to be impossible. So that's how I do it. That's how I thrive. And I always was trying to take opportunities that others thought that was difficult, impossible, very difficult, very impossible.
Well, you've got such an incredible story, and it's not over yet. I know that, but we talked about when we first met. We talked about your struggle with cancer and how you overcame that, and I want you to share that with the audience, and then share with us sort of your mindset, because this is a show about digging deep and turning failure and hard times into success. Share with us that journey and your mindset and how you got through that. And I think that's really one of the things that people get the most from this show is learning how others, take hard times and turn that around.
Okay, so not the easy topic for me to talk about, because it took me a while to come up with the terms of, okay, you got a cancer type of phone call, but you also have to understand that I grew up in a country where people, get word they had cancer, it's a death sentence. So, and that was my initial reaction. I also, at that time, felt that it's my failure. I did something wrong. That's why I got cancer. With all of that, I think the first reaction for me was just to hide. So I got into this deep depression phase where I wouldn't go out, I wouldn't talk to people, I wouldn't accept phone calls, I wouldn't accept visitors. And then at the same time, I started looking for different options in terms of treatment options, surgery. And one day, I was just sitting and thinking about what I'm doing, and then I just realized that I'm alive, but I was acting as I'm dead. And I felt that there's something wrong with that. I don't know.
Absolutely, right.
I didn't know all, everything that was ahead of me, but I was like, why, I'm not living while I'm alive. So that was kind of a turning point. And considering my background in technology, entrepreneurship, big data, I finally saw an opportunity to do something that will, A, help other people, B, help me, and that's how I started this company.
Well, that's incredible. And so what do you think led to that moment when when you finally said, I mean, what in your background, I mean, is it somebody, so is it the way you grew up? Was it your parents? What gave you that ability to kind of pick yourself up? Because I think, that's one of the things I think is hardest for people to do, right? Is they get a phone call like that, and it's absolutely devastating. And they don't know how to get out of that. They don't know how to pick themselves up. They don't know where to go next. They don't know. Maybe they don't. So I guess what do you think gives you or gave you that ability to pick yourself up and carry on? I mean, is it an influence that you got from your parents, from a family member that overcame something? I mean, where does that drive come from?
I think it's, my response will be kind of multidimensional, if you will. I, of course, I had a role model, my grandfather, who was diagnosed with cancer back in Azerbaijan, and he just everything that he was facing his attitude was just remarkable. Like, whatever needs to be done has to be done, right? And move forward. But at the same time, I think, like you mentioned at the beginning, my professional chess background, and I think there is one skill that you need to have if you're a professional chess player is think forward. Like, and whatever you see on when you play chess, you never give up, right? You play till the last move. And B, even if you ended up losing like one game, the next day you need to wake up and be prepared to play a new game. So I think that background and that kind of thinking was instrumental in getting me out of that dark hole that I initially, got myself into after the diagnosis that I received.
Did you, after you made that decision to sort of get back up and get back in life, is there something that you changed in your daily habits, in your daily decision making? Is there something that you just did differently than you did before?
Yes, I became even more wilder than I was. So I basically decided that the life actually has the end at some point of time. It might be even closer than you think it could be, meaning that I did enormous amount of travel since I faced that disease. I literally set up my schedule, and I think it's important, when you get something like that, to pull yourself out. It's, start a company, set up your goals. Within a month, I was at a conference, and I couldn't lift anything, heavier than 1 pound, but I still managed to drive to the conference, attend the conference with lots of breaks, and set up a travel schedule. And
So you made a decision to sort of go out and see parts of the world that you wanted to go see and travel and get out and do things that you hadn't done before.
Yeah. And along with that, I even decided to acquire new skills that I always dreamed about, such as like kayaking. I took kayaking class, and now I'm pretty good at kayaking.
Okay.
And I kayaked everywhere. So to me, it was basically the way I would describe it. It was like cancer deliberated me. I felt free now to start my company, to do the things I really wanted to do, and stop being afraid of speaking up, follow my dreams, and do things that matter to me.
I think I think that last thing that you said was the most important, right? Is you started to do things that matter to you. And I think that's something that that's probably got to be one of the biggest regrets in life, right at the end, is you didn't do the things that matter to you the most. And I think that's really a really important message. So I guess the next question I would have is, from a professional standpoint, how did that change you? Did you, because you started, not shortly thereafter, you started Open Health Network. And did that lead to you starting that company, or how did that come about in your sort of, we talked a little bit about how you changed your personal life. How did that influence your professional life and what you would do next?
That's a great question. And as you mentioned when you introduced me, I've been entrepreneur for a while, but I always was like CEO of a startup or uh, executive level type of influencer and mentor, but I never was actually a founder. And uh, when um, when I start thinking about what can I do based on my experiences, especially in healthcare space, I remember that I had this question that many people who get cancer ask, why me, right? And I was talking
Right.
to why me, right? And I was talking to very well-known oncologist at a very well-known hospital, and I asked him that question, and he said, well, we don't know. And they did the genetic analysis of the tissue, so I couldn't blame my parents, right? So um, that basically set me off, like, okay, so you don't know, but do you have any hypothesis, right? And his response was no. And my question was why? And he said, well, we don't have data. And then that led me to kind of creating a view of 360 degrees data that can impact causation, treatment, and outcomes of different, chronic diseases such as cancer.
Right.
And I realized that with my background, my expertise, and now the drive to help others, I can actually do something about it.
Okay. Wow. So that's pretty powerful. That's a pretty powerful motivation right there, because I guess that led to you thinking about and what was next for you, and that sort of developed into trying to answer the question why led to what you're doing now. That's pretty profound. Now, I guess that leads me to this. So when because entrepreneurship is hard, and you know that you've been doing this a long time, and uh, your your diagnosis there with cancer was hard. But we all have, no matter how successful we are, no matter how much we overcome tough things, we all have bad days. So when you get up in the morning, or if you don't feel well, or if you're having a bad day, is there stuff that because I find this in my coaching quite a bit, that people struggle how to turn a bad day around into a good day, or into being grateful for what they have. How do you, do you talk to yourself? Is there a way that when something's not going right, you sit down, you take a second, and you say, okay, Tatyana, you gotta get your head straight, or you gotta get your head right. Is there some self talk that you have? I guess is what I would call it. That you do that helps you change your mood, or have a brighter outlook on the day.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, and as you said, entrepreneurship is hard. It's very hard. It's a lonely game. So um, that also, kind of bad and difficult because in the public eye, you have to be successful and cheerful, and everything is cool. So there's like really, it's a lonely place to be, and yeah, I mean, I haven't met people who said, "Oh, I just started a company and next day I became super successful." So in
That
most of
doesn't
the
happen.
cases, yeah, there are lots of battles and lots of people just looking at the end results.
Right.
They, oh my God, it's easy, it's successful, and they start companies thinking, "Oh, it's an easy game," and then when they experience setbacks, they become really depressed. But uh, and of course, like in my life, every single day is a challenge. So, there are things that were supposed to be done, they're not get done. There are, customers you think you have, and they will delay or, betray you. But, it's a normal business stuff. And uh, sometimes you need just to take a break. I like kayaking because it's a place where even if it's a half an hour on a boat, I know I can't text, I can't do. I would just
Right.
like have to meditate or, listen to myself and balance myself. Because you have to, stay, stay on the water and not the flip that little thing over. And I think that goes back to the best ways you can stop worrying and focus on why you're doing what you're doing. What can you do to not focus on the bad things, but focus on the good things and start uh, doing things that will give you more good. But if you will just get into blaming game, or whose fault is that? Was it my fault, somebody else's fault? This not going right, that not going right, I'm not getting money, and I'm not will be able to pay myself and other people, then it becomes really, really bad, right? So instead of that, you need to change your attitude, your mood, the way you think about it is as an opportunity. Okay, I tried this way, it didn't work out for me.
Right.
Let's pick out one, two, three other options. What can I do to get to where I need to be? And for that, in many cases, you just need to push like stop button, stop looking, because you're getting deep into that hole of failure, right? You need to stop
Right.
it, go for a hike or meditate, do yoga, whatever works for you. But you need to release your mind from the problem area so you can focus on uh, what you can do about it.
Well, yeah, take a break from it. I like your idea of going out. I know that sailing is one of my therapies, and being on the water for a little while, there's nothing for me. There's nothing better, and to sort of hit that reset button that you're talking about, right? It gives you time to sort of disconnect and think. And I think one of the things that often is a challenge for people is to take the time out. I know in my business early on, I never took the time for the first couple of years to stop and think about what I was doing and think strategically, think big picture and small picture, and that really hurt. And I know that when we hit that reset button and we stopped and started thinking about what we were doing on a regular basis, on a daily basis, that's when that business took off. So I really appreciate what you're saying there in terms of sort of stopping and thinking and hitting that stop button and doing some things during the day that help you focus. And I think that's really important, a really important message. So what is for you just a few things that you do on a daily basis? Are there some more things that you do in the morning to get your day started off right? Do you have a routine? Are there things, and I know you like to get on the boat, are there other things that you do to sort of help yourself sort of get off on the right foot every day?
Um, yes, yeah, as you mentioned, so my morning routine is probably pathetic, being I have coffee maker on my nightstand. So I wake up and I get my coffee and dark chocolate. And so that doesn't change. So that's a routine. But then I always do brief exercise in the morning. It's, I finally strong enough to do push-ups. And I kind of addicted to that, and that also, helps not just, uh, with your set up your mind, but also I think it's super important. No matter what you do, 2, 3 times a day, take a break and do any type of exercise. For me, it's extremely important. Even if I don't have time to go to the gym, I just go outside and do, speed walking, even if it's 5, 10 minutes. You have to do that,
Right.
no
Right.
matter what you do. So it's part of my routine. I do like food and I like cooking. And for me, it's also one of the ways how I can uh, help myself to refocus and reset. So that's part of my day, even if it's a little thing. I try to cook. But I think for people, it's more like what they can do to help their body and mind during the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel it's very important every an hour or so, do something that will help you with your mind or your body. And people will be surprised how much it will impact the core business if they do that.
Okay. I don't disagree with you at all. I mean, most successful people that I talk to, there's a really common thread that goes through their day, and that is they eat well, they exercise, they get up in the morning and they think about their day, they have positive self-talk. There's some really sort of similar things that you hear from super successful people and how they sort of go about their day. So that's awesome. And the last thing I'd ask is, are there any good books that you're reading right now that you've really enjoyed and that you recommend to the audience?
Yeah, so I am pretty much, I developed a new addiction, and that addiction is audible. I don't know if people realize that they can listen to books, and I'm literally like addicted, because if I walk or I'm on a plane anywhere, I have tons of books that I read, and they fall into few categories. One of them is I love adventure kind of thriller. I don't know if it's thriller, but I read everything that, for example, David Baldacci is writing, and but I also like books on self-development, if you will. Like I'm reading and rereading books such as The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F kind of word, book by Mark Manson. I read famous books by, like Robert Cialdini on influence, the psychology of persuasion, and I read, I just have quite a few books that I really love. Anything that is written by Brene Brown. So that's extremely helpful, and I really recommend people to read her book, The Power of Vulnerability.
Okay, good.
So I can send you my reading list, but it's quite comprehensive.
It sounds like it. Sounds like it.
Yes.
So tell us quickly about Open Health Network, and if people are interested in more about that, what's sort of the elevator pitch for the Open Health Network?
So Open Health Network is patient experience management platform. We created configurable, customizable system that enables any player in healthcare ecosystem, such as payers, providers, researchers, pharma, to create any type of digital assets, such as chatbots, mobile voice apps, but we also created enterprise-grade content management system where all those assets can be maintained, which is extremely important. And I'm excited because we're adding blockchain-enabled healthcare data exchange platform that I think will transform quite a few things in healthcare.
Well, excellent. Well, Tatyana, it's been great to talk. Thanks for coming on the show. I look forward to catching up with you when you're in the DC area or at our next conference together, and or if I can make it out to one of my favorite cities in the world, out in Silicon Valley. But take care, and again, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us on The Hard Way. You can listen to previous episodes on iTunes and on our website at powercoachinggroup.com. Tune in next week for more focused, practical, insightful advice and for answers on how to turn failure in hard times into success.